All right, so the next step, I think I just want to capture this on video, guys, for your reference. This is essentially the effect we're creating. The truss is the next step, and I'm going to apply the truss webbing to our section on the bottom half of the structure, and then I'm going to apply it to the top half of the other facade, and then you'll see how fantastically easy it is to apply it to the rest of the building. So let's get started with that. Whoops. So we have these three curves, right? The three curves are going to create cells as if they were any other surface. Those cells get broken up into points, and from those points we map geometry. Like the webbing, whether it's angled or xed, we're going to keep it pretty simple, but you'll get the idea here. So each one of these curves will need to be divided. Okay. We'll pick a pretty static number. I think I'm going to divide it by maybe 5 cells to start, and we'll increase it if we need to. So I'll do n equals 5, and you just plug C in. That's the curve. That's the wrong curve. That's right. I forgot about this. So notice how it subdivided the entire length of that curve. I forgot that I actually need to break this curve apart into 2 segments before I can do this. So let's go to curve division, and you can do shatter, I think, is a way that we could do this pretty easily. Or you could do divide distance, you could do divide by parameter somewhere, but I think shatter will accomplish it. What shatter is going to do is split it up by parameter. Okay, so for us, parameter is either going to be by magnitude or by percentage. So when I type in a value of, say, 0.5, that should be halfway, you would think. And I don't recall off the top of my head if this defaults to percentage or magnitude, but let's plug it in and find out. So I shatter this thing. It creates 2 curves, because obviously it cuts it in half. So I'll need to list item to grab one of those curves. We're getting a lot of mileage out of list item today. Just make that a 0. It doesn't matter which curve you grab. Okay, what I notice is that I don't really see a curve here. I should see one of these curves at its full half magnitude for the whole thing if this is really set to magnitude. If I switch this to 1, I see almost the entire curve. So that tells me that it's actually preloaded to do magnitude. So this is really only giving us a half a foot of a curve at one end of the curve. So this will need to be reparametrized, and that gives me 1/2. See the top corner there? I'll switch this back to 0. That gives me this curve. You guys get that? That one's easy to know, I think. So anyway, whoops. Oops, I need to move this back. Okay, so we have this curve here is going to get divided into 5. And then I'm going to just copy and paste this 3 times for each of these curves. Okay, it looks really crazy. There's a lot of points there. I don't want you guys to get scared of how many points there are. So let's grab all of this geometry and turn it off. Well, actually, leave the curves on. Yeah, like that. All right. So notice how when we divide this thing by 5, all of these curves are divided by 5, and therefore it's kind of creating these little triangles. The cool thing about that is we can create truss curves off of that we're going to use to pipe. And then we're going to create the actual structure. So first and foremost, I think we want to create the actual triangular frame. And that's just going to be a line connecting group 1 to group 2 to group 3, and then group 3 back to 1. Or, yeah. So we'll go and grab curve and primitive, and we're going to go from group 1 to group 2. That's what you see here. You can see those lines generating here. Copy and paste that, and you're just going to go from group 2 to group 3. You see that next line shows up there. Then I'm going to copy and paste this again, and I'm going to go from group 3 to group 1. So that part's a little confusing, but I think by now you've done something similar to this enough times. You guys following so far? All right, well, we got one. All right. So I'll pause for you guys to catch up, but this is all I did here. I shattered the main curve that's going around my building so that it corresponds to my subsystem. And then I took my curves and I divided them into points. That part is super simple. And then I took those groups of points and I created lines to each other. And that's how you get... Sorry. Thanks. I feel really blessed. So that's how you get these triangular frames around the truss.